Welcome to Solutions from the Yard, a candid discussion about life behind bars and its effect on society. Your host for this episode is Michael Dickerson-El.
Welcome. I just want to welcome everybody out to our Solutions from the Yard. And we have my brother co-host,
Charles Hopkins.
And we have Darren Stephenson as our guest tonight. And we had previous shows with the brother, and he's he's a counselor, and he has all the awards, and he has a lot of good information. And we just want to talk about the youth. Because, just to give a synopsis of the brother Darren Stephenson, his father did 50 years in prison. He's still incarcerated to this day. He went to jail when Darren was 5 years old. And he's always been in his son's life. The brother made mention, of how they keep in contact. He write him 4 letters every week, and he responds to those letters. He still goes to see his father after 50 years of incarceration, make sure he supports him financially, mentally, any way that he can possibly support him, far as on the legal aspect, going to his parole hearings and things of that nature. So the brother, man, he just gave us so much insight on, our past shows. And, tonight we want to talk about the youth, the violence with the youth. And what is some of the solutions that we can, attack this from? Because, it's a problem that's just plaguing, the metropolitan area, with youth violence and all the senseless killings. And it's just really getting out of hand, and nobody don't have no solution. So I just want to, welcome you all out tonight, because we have a brother that's going to give us some insight on some of the things that, that's going to help us in this situation. Because, man, when you really care about your people, this is a show you really want to hear.
That's right.
Because we want to really point out some of the things that, the youth is going through. And I just want to ask you just to start this off. When it comes to the violence with the youth, for especially like I want to touch on this carjacking situation, because at 80 years old, my father was carjacked.
Yeah.
They took my father's car, joy riding in it, crashed it all up. We found it like maybe an hour and some change later. Slammed my father on the ground, everything. It was a blessing that they didn't take his life, but just the disrespect that you would take a 80-year-old man's car just to joyride and crash it up. I can't even fathom the thought, because even when I was in the street, one thing we always did, we still have respect for our elders. We sold drugs, but that was in our little tight circle, because it was willing. I didn't make you buy no drugs. You was buying them because that's what you wanted to do, because you was an addict. So we kept our, far as, it was a principle in that. But also the way I was raised, it was a principle in that. And it's like, that it's a difference, because even though the way I was raised is contrary to what I was doing, totally contrary.
That's right.
But still I had what I want to say, a moral compass when it came to certain things that we just didn't do, and my thing is like, what's going on far as like with this moral compass? Why are these children so disrespectful to their elders?
Good question, man.
Good question. That's on me?
That's on you,
There
man.
you go. So look, I've been a counselor 35 years, right? And I've seen it all, heard it all. And what I'm saying is the world done shifted, right? The community shifted, and the men and these young, it's always the boys, mainly the boys, girls a little bit, but mainly the boys. The men in these boys' lives are not doing a thing. The men that share a bloodline with these boys are not around. So, their moms, they tried, but they boy in and now in the world, it's acceptable. You can carjack an 80-year-old man, get arrested, be home the next day. The consequences don't fit the crime. Back in the day, we had reform schools, we had truant officers, they took everything out. School is a wreck. Kids, they hate school. We didn't hate school. So they're not learning. The community is a wreck, and we the only community, black community, that we don't control nothing in our community. You can just dump drugs and guns down there, and we're gonna use them because we don't have no personal restraint. I read a story: a boy 12 years old had 9 carjackings. They supposed to put his parents in jail. 9 carjackings. Boy, 13 got killed 5 o'clock in the morning, breaking in people's car. Man shot him, and they put that man in jail. This is the world we living in. It's sick. It's perverted. So I need the family members to tighten up and get on these teams because they just running around rapidly. While aunt and uncle live somewhere else and they don't care. Like the rap boy said, you bring me flowers when I'm dead, but no soup when I'm sick. You bring me flowers when I'm dead, but no. These kids are sick and they're not getting anything. They're not getting that soup. Right? So we almost need martial law. We got to search everybody's home for these guns and these drugs because they don't have the personal restraint. Remember I said 3 things that get you in trouble as a man, young boy, or old man: being impulsive, split-second decision, self-discipline, knowing it's wrong, doing it anyway, and self-confidence. You know, confidence, everything's going to be okay. Joy riding, hurting the 80-year-old man. Know what I tell young men? You know you blocked your blessing. You're going to pay for that one day. You're going to pay for that. And they're allowed to do it because of that brain event. They don't know it's bad until later on.
Right, exactly.
You know, everyone does studies on black people. We don't never do our own study on us. Why somebody else got to do a study on that? We don't never have where's the black people study on black people? If white boys was killing white boys, it'd be a national emergency. Now shooting dope is the opiate crisis. When my father and them was shooting it in the 70s, it was war on drugs. Same thing.
Exactly.
My father just told me the other day he ain't never seen as many white people in jail. I'm telling you. And that it's a double standard. We the only race that still got slave masters' names and we don't take care of our own. We the only race. We're the only race. We need some serious help. And it's really come down to us helping us. But I don't see that happening in the next two or 3 generations. I raised the Morehouse man from scratch. I told my son, the minute you go into the 3-0, I'm driving the U-Haul 14 hours. You coming home. You're not going to be at Morehouse if you can't be down there. And he never went to the 3-0 because you know I meant business. And that's how you got to be. You don't have that kind of parenting going on. You got some bad parenting out there that'll let your kid at 12 run away and stay with them a whole week, won't even call you. This is what you're dealing with as a parent. So you got to have some real good parenting skills because there's some sick, perverted stuff going on in these communities. Yeah. And the powers that be, that top 1% of the world, they know whatever I put in the black community, they're going to use it. I put a liquor store, they're going in there. I put guns down, they're going to use them. They know. They know.
Yeah, because I what you said, like far as the parenting, like when I was growing up, like it was just like the parents had more responsibility far as like when you doing certain stuff because it was put on, like you say, it was put on the parent at one point in time. Now, like, you know, what I've noticed, you got a lot of youth that's homeless nowadays. You see that a lot because now the parents basically just say, oh, you too much to handle, go on about your business. Yeah. And they just, you know, because it's crazy because one time I seen, when I was living on Rhode Island Avenue, I seen I was coming in late because I was coming from over my friend's house and I was watching the fight over his house. So we got home around close to 1. But as I was parking, I seen a bunch of youngins, I want to say none of them was over 25. All of them looked like they was under 25, maybe in their late teens. But it was like 4 of them. One was on a bike. Another one, they had one of them little rental bikes that you rent. Then you had a couple of them was trailing. He was like circling around them, going with them, but they had a cop. So it was 1 girl and 3 boys. So I think the girl was like the girlfriend to one of the guys. You could see they had kind of like a little tight-knit situation going. But they was pushing the car. All their belongings was in the car. And they was like, you know, traveling from one place to another. And they had the car. So I'm like looking, and it blew my mind because when I was that age, I wouldn't even dreamt of being homeless. And they was homeless in groups, like, like a little pack of hyenas. They was, and they was traveling, I guess, going, because, it's a few of them little transitional homes and stuff on Rhode Island Avenue in that area. So I'm assuming that that's where they was going, to one of those, one of those shelters or something like that. And it's just like you said, like, the parents are not like they used to be, far as, they just give up on the children. And that's what I see a lot of that, parents just giving up on them and just say, man, look, you got to get out. And that's the way it is, and whatever you land yourself in, that's what it is. You go to jail, guess what? I put you out, you don't get no support from me, and that's one of the things I see far as like, like you had mentioned before about hope. When you don't have no hope, it's just like, man, I don't care about nothing.
That's right.
So that's one of the things that I see. Chuck, what you want to add?
I want to talk about the pathology of these kids, right? And I understand what you're saying, but let's unpack this. When is it that an 8-year-old I perceive an 8-year-old to be so much of a threat to me that I go get a gun and I want to shoot him, or that I'm 14 or 15. They call me Baby K. I'm 14. I'm 15. I'm terrorizing. Where does this pathology come from? Where I don't have, it's one thing when we saying like this, no respect. I'm saying where you have complete disregard for human life. It ain't that you got. I don't value human life. I stomp a roach. I shoot a person in the head. Where do this pathology come from? Okay. From your own professional perspective.
Okay, so when we talk about those young boys, right, those teenagers, right, that 13 to 18 population, a lot of them are cold-blooded because they hurt. Hurt people hurt people. Hurt children hurt children. And it's the same thing. And these young boys got some serious trauma issues. When I look at student records, 'cause I always look at the record before we start talking, because I don't want, when he start lying, guess what I say? Your nose going to grow.
Yeah, Pinocchio.
I look at the kindergarten report card, and I look on there, he done missed 40 days in kindergarten. He's 5 years old. He ain't got no car. He can't take. Then that shows me there's education part. Then I look at this first grade report card. He missed another 40 days. It's only 180 school days. He done missed almost a half a school year already. He's only 6.
Come on.
So if education's not important and you're living in a home, and when you talk about homeless kids, they call that couch surfing. When you go from one person couch to the next, it's couch surfing. So that's what they're doing. And you're couch surfing, and your father ain't around, and your mom got a new boyfriend, so now you're the outsider, and the new boyfriend come in, now he got a baby with your mom. And when you look at family dynamics, it'll mess you up when you're the outsider. Me and my brother got the same mom, same dad. You got kids that got 8, 9 brothers and sisters with 6 and 7 baby dads. And then you got 2 out of 6, and he'll come get his kids and leave y'all stranded. Yeah. That hurts.
Come on.
That will make you bankrupt you emotionally. And so these young boys, they get these nicknames. Everybody want to be a killer.
Right.
Until it's time to go to jail and lock in. And I tell them young boys, you kill somebody, you're going to be in jail for decades, and everybody going to forget all about you.
Yeah.
First year, first year you get a couple visits, get a couple letters. Them years trickle down, you on your own. My father just told me the other day that some of the guys that's old like him be digging through the trash, eating food off people's trays because they don't have nothing. I ain't going for that. I said, my father extra that month. No side. We ain't doing that. You feed them dudes, man.
Yeah, that's right.
Because that bothers my father to be in jail with guys that can't take care of themselves. So I know, but these young boys, they just don't know. Because everything that is in their life is trash. School is trash. Community is trash. TV is trash. What do they got to look forward to?
How do we? And I buy that whole analogy.
Right.
I buy hook, line, and sinker. How do we? Because now I'm from that life.
Right.
I ain't scared to go down certain streets, but I'm definitely petrified to go down some streets that's not lit.
Right.
And I'm also every time I go get in my car. I live in 555 East Street. It's every brand of police known to man down there. I'm still looking around like left and right. Before I go in my car, I go on my floor. I turn my head around the corner before I put my body around the corner.
Right.
Because of what's going on. What do we do? Because we talking about a situation where it ain't so much as the carjacking no more. I'm armed carjacking, and I think just the other day. The dude armed carjacked the wrong person. They had a gun. So they got into a shootout. Both of them wound up in the hospital. I don't know what the outcome was, but now we find ourselves where society, and we know that we talking about our community, the poor and the most marginalized community. But then when you talk about other folks, they got a license to carry a gun.
Right.
How do we reach these kids? Because if we don't, we can't write them all.
Right.
You know, because then we write them all. We doing what Furrow did. We doing what Hearn did, saying kill all the firstborns.
Right.
So if we write them all, that's basically what we saying. Like, and then that mean that then we didn't create a situation where we don't even have nobody to reproduce. Right. We gonna become extinct by virtue of killing each other off and not being able to reproduce.
Well, first thing, all you really can do is what you can do, right? You only can manage what you can manage. You take one kid at a time and you work your way through. But we need layers of. It should be like a United States government emergency about young black boys and these crimes. But they don't care. We right in Washington D.C., the White House right down the street, and stuff is going on until they hurt somebody white. Now we got a problem.
Right.
We need some serious intervention, but all you can do is just make sure your nephews and nieces are doing what they're supposed to. Just work within your family. If everybody get their family together, we got a better, stronger community. Yeah. And that's all you really can do until you find you don't really have good black leadership. Because every time you get black leader, they kill them. We ain't had leaders since Malcolm and them, and they've been going almost 60 years. Malcolm and Martin and them. So we don't have we the only community that don't have no leadership. Our leaders are crooks, right? They steal and they rob. So that's what the kids look at. They don't have nobody. Who can kids look at to emulate? Who? LeBron James? Nah, man, they don't have nothing, man. So it's just they living in a sick, fictitious world, and it's heart-wrenching. But me as a counselor, I do what I can do, and I try to help who I can help. I don't turn my back on anyone. But we need our community to stand up and start taking care of your own. Get your family in order, and then we can bring 5 or 10 families. Now we got that community in order, and then you can start reaching out. But these guns and all this stuff, we need martial law. I need everybody's house checked. Check everybody's house for guns. You got to permit to carry. You ain't got to permit to shoot nobody. I seen a guy shoot a guy and go to the penitentiary for 10 years because you got to permit to carry, but you got to permit to shoot nobody. That's the difference.
Yeah.
And they don't realize you shoot somebody, you going to jail.
Exactly.
You're going to jail. And they don't know. They don't get that part. Too many guns, man. Get rid of these guns. Cause we ain't got the self-discipline. No, I don't own a gun. I'd rather look, I ain't getting no gun. If I'm living in a neighborhood, I need a gun, I'm moving away. I'm saving every dime and I'm moving away. And that's what you got to do. If half these people move away, then that's half the people we got to deal with. And you can't stay in these neighborhoods that's not safe. What
if they can't move? What if they can't get out of them? Like for example,
what I just said, right? Save every dime.
Okay.
Save every dime.
But I look at Greenleaf projects. Okay. Right. And it's right around the corner, down the street from the police station, right around the corner from down the stadium, Frederick Douglass Bridge. Right. Right. When you cross M Street on one side, right, they got all these plush restaurants on the left hand side of South Capitol, going south. On the right hand side, you turn the wrong corner and it's like the 4th of July down there, they get to shoot. Yeah. But all this is right there. Sure. And how do we, we can't, some people, they don't have the ability to get out. It's not, I don't know nobody that if you say, I'm going to change your area code from 224 to 90210, which is Beverly Hills. I'm going to change your zip code from 24 to 90210. Going to say like, hey, I don't want to go to California. I ain't trying to go to Beverly Hills. Right. I don't know nobody in our community that wouldn't take that. Right. But the fact of the matter is, they don't have the resources. They don't have the ability, and they can't save every penny because the pennies that they getting, they slowly taking them. So that before they know it, they ain't had 2 pennies to rub together to save. Okay. So how do we?
This is how you do it, right? Because I know my history, right? My grandfather, right? A big part of me is my grandfather. Things skip generations. My grandfather's name was Kingfish, and he had 3rd grade education, but he grew up in the farm. He could turn a vacant lot into a garden, and he worked 40 years in the steel mill. So on the weekends, he would go deep sea fishing and hunt, come back, feed the whole projects. My grandmother would take it to the center court, and they barter. You give me the cheese, we got to go back to that then. If we're going to be in those bad neighborhoods, we got to come together. Yeah. You can't just willy-nilly down there. You got to get disciplined if you're going to be there. If not, you need to pack you a parachute. and get out of there. You got to have a plan. You can't just be waking up and just doing whatever. If you're going to be there, it's concentrated poverty. You got to find a way to work through some of that stuff. You got to. You got to find a way.
How do we address the trauma that come out that environment? Because like you said yourself, right? And I know, I'm going by my own personal experience, right? I knew when I got out of prison, I did 40 years. I knew when I got out of prison that I was traumatized. I wasn't even sitting up there faking like I'm gonna be in prison 48 years and not be affected by it. Right. And I know when I came in here, Voice for a Second Chance, they asked you, do you have mental health? But and the only reason why I asked that, I answered it that I did because prior to that I had went somewhere and I had got a psychologist. And when he asked me, say, you think you suffer from trauma? I said, no, I don't suffer from no trauma. He said, man, how could you stay in prison 48 years and not suffer from trauma? But because I didn't know what trauma was. So when that question is being asked to a lot of clients that come in here, and we ask, that first thing they say, oh, no, I ain't got that. Until we explain that in order for you to get some help, you're going to have to say this in the District of Columbia. Yeah. So how do we get people, or what do we do? Because that's what we really got, like you say, okay, if we're going to take the responsibility, because they, like you say, it's all out assault on us, right? The guns in the community, because this is a part of the assault. Right. The games, the lack of parenting, the whole thing with the mothers, the relationship, it's all, in my mind, premeditated. Right. But how do we, those that know, like yourself, how do we get people or get in a space where we can get people to understand the impact of this trauma and how to deal with it? And I'm gonna close this point, because just think about it. When a little kid got killed in the neighborhood, little 5-year-old kid got killed in the neighborhood, the whole community traumatized. The little kids, little 5-year-olds that her playmates, right? They traumatized. They tell the mother, say, "Oh, little girl going to heaven," right? Say, "Well, where little Betty going to heaven?" But then while she in the dining room talking to the adults and little kids sitting right there, the mother saying, "Oh yeah, she got killed because that no good ass dude that she dealing with was messing with so and so." So the kid sitting there, the kid conflicted. But ain't nobody came in the community and said, anybody come in the community and say, listen, let's heal, let's try to have a healing. So how do we deal with this trauma, man?
So the trauma is like a 10-story cake, right? You got to cut it chunk by chunk. If you try to help a community, you got to pick one community and go one community at a time. And you get all your people that's going to help out to go down there, all hands on deck. And once you get that community together, then you go to, it's a big community. This is a city.
That's right.
Right? And it's going to be bigger than what we can do. Because when you start talking about educating people on trauma, they got current trauma, post-trauma. They got all kinds of trauma. That's right. You got layers of trauma, and layers of concentrated poverty, and layers of dissension, right? Unhappy people, right? You got a liquor store, people with substance abuse problems, and dual diagnosed mental health. It's a lot. So you really want to help people, you got to start with your family and start small and work your way up. Now, if you got an army, because you can't go to war without an army,
that's right.
Then you can start approaching this community. But until you build your army and your war chest, because you're going to need money, right? You can't help the community. All you can do is help your family and your children.
I heard you say a couple of things you said as far as like, the Malcolm X's, Martin Luther King, things of that nature. Because you're right. We lacking that presence. And then basically, like you said, all the leaders that we got ain't nothing but crooks. Where I'm going with this is, because you say start with your family. And one of the things that I always told myself, even when I was incarcerated, that I always wanted to have another child so I can teach them the things that I know, now at the consciousness that I have now.
That's right.
And it's kind of like a question, but I just want to hear your take on it too as well, because in order for us to make a change, because like they say, some people just gone. You can't save everybody. But I heard you say start with your family first. And I just want to put out far as what you think about us starting like some form of programs, the way as though we are training the youth. to be these messiahs. You see what I'm saying? Because like you were saying about Harvard, stuff like that. You know, what you think about far as like training some of the youth that you can actually get their ears, train them so they can go out and teach the the other youth that, because they're gonna more be relatable.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So what you think about that?
I mean, it's a good solution. It's a good vibe, but you gotta. It's the messenger, right? You can have a good message, but if your messenger is not powerful, it won't be received. Now these kids they're different. You ain't gonna just be talking to willy nilly. Let's rah, because it'll last a week, then it'll die down. So you really got to handpick your youth, right? And a lot of youth today, they're afraid. Being a leader is not the popular thing. These kids, they treat school like my father said, you treat home like jail and treat jail like home. So they got the wrong mentality. So you really going to have to get in there and get them young. Start elementary and you build them up and you grow up with them. And because some of them older ones, you ain't going to be able to save them. They're going to get theirs when they're going to get there. That's why they call it the Department of Corrections, because he's going to correct that, right? But the ones you can save, you got to push them. Right, you got to push them. We should be having scholarships for kids, giving free education. Look, we're going to pay for you to go to college. You got to come back and serve. Stuff like that. That's how you do it. Yeah. And if you really want to reach the youth, hit them private school. Go down to St. John's College and get those boys. Go to Sitwell Friends and get those black boys. Them boys are already sharp. They already got high self-esteem. They're ready. You can't go to Ballou and get the at-risk population because they're not ready. But if you get those private school boys that got high self-esteem, they got too many people in their life that they don't want to disappoint, now we can build an army. But we're not bringing it together. We're too fragmented. Right. It's like we were in Africa. We're tribal. That's how we got all enslaved. They went to East Tribe and guys. Before you know it, we on a boat. Just like the churches. Church on every corner, everybody doing their own thing. Same thing. That's how we was in Africa. We're tribal. You ain't part of my tribe, screw you. And we got to get out of that. We got to get out of that somehow, some way. So it's a lot of work to do. There ain't no easy fix to this. But if you really want to start, you start small and you build your way up, right? Before you know it, it's like dieting, right? You can't eat tricky food because once your central nervous system catch up, you're going to store everything. You gain everything back. But if it's about wellness, mind and body, physiologically, you got to be on the same page. And you take baby steps. You walk around the block a couple of times. Then you start jogging around the block. Before you know it, you run a half marathon. Before you know it, you run a marathon, 26.2 miles of running. But you don't get there right away. Same thing when you're trying to help black people. This is not easy. This is not easy work. It's easy to say, let's do it. But if you don't have a plan, you don't have no army, no war chest, you ain't going to be able to help black people. You're going to run out. You're going to run short of a lot of things. So, just as long as you're having these kind of forums, this is a good start. Excellent start. But if you want to help the youth, you got to get the brightest and the best and get them to lead.
There you have it. Solutions from the Yard.
You've been listening to Solutions from the Yard. This podcast is presented by Voices for a Second Chance, a comprehensive reentry program that provides culturally appropriate, trauma-informed, gender-specific, and peer-based services. For more information, go to info@vscdc.org or visit our website at www.vscdc.org.